なぜ人は戦うのか。始まりは小さないさかいだとしても、それはやがて世界を覆う獰猛な嵐となる。
In the history of gaming, there are few series more divisive and polarizing than Dynasty Warriors. But how did Dynasty Warriors come to be? Well, before we answer that, let's go back a bit further, to the birth of Koei. In 1977, Yoichi Arakawa's family's business was failing. His father handed Arakawa and his wife Keiko the reins of the company, which they reluctantly accepted. In 1978, while he was still a student at Koei University, Arakawa, now more commonly known as Ko Shibusawa, and his wife took the remains of the family business and founded Koei, an industrial chemical company. His new responsibilities put a lot of stress on Arakawa. In addition to school and running Koei, he also worked at a record store both to help support Koei financially as well as to deepen his interest in music. But it was just too much. In 1980, as a way to cheer him up, Keiko bought her husband a Sharp MZ80C for his birthday. Arakawa got deep into programming and computing with this. The Koei we know today began that December when Yoichi and Keiko re-established Koei as a computer game company. In 1981, Arakawa started selling Koei's first game tape, a war simulation called Battle of Kawanakajima. The pictures on screen are the only thing even close to footage I could find, and I don't exactly know what it is I'm looking at. But anyway, the game was surprisingly well received. As time passed, more games were released, such as Nobunaga's Ambition and The Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And Koei gained a reputation as a creator of simulation games. They made other games, sure, notably Angelique, the first game made almost entirely by women for women, and is also thought to be the origin of the Otome game. But regardless of these other games, Koei couldn't shake their reputation as a maker of stuffy historical simulations, and they really wanted to. And this is where Omega Force comes into the picture. Koei's Omega Force division was established with the goal of creating action games in order to break them out of their historical simulation stereotype. In 1997, this 5 or 6 man team released their first game. Originally released as Sangoku Musou, Dynasty Warriors is a fighting game that takes the historical angle that Koei is known for and combines it with a game that plays a bit like a cross between Virtua Fighter and Soul Calibur. Dynasty Warriors released decent reviews, including a 9 out of 10 from Game Informer, an 8.1 from EGM, and a 7.2 from GameSpot. After this, Omega Force went on to make 3 more games, Enigma, Destrega, and Winback, before returning to Dynasty Warriors, at which point they decided to move the series in a new direction. They wanted to set their game apart from all the fighting games that were coming out at the time. So they came up with the hack-and-slash battlefield that makes up the series as we know it today. Their internal concept for the game was a one-man army. In 2000, Koei rebranded the series and released Shin Sangoku Musou, known in the West as Dynasty Warriors 2. This numbering discrepancy remains with the series to this day. Dynasty Warriors has gone on to spawn over 30 main series games, expansions, and spin-offs, over 18 Samurai Warriors games, 5 Warriors Orochi crossover games, 3 One Piece games, 4 Gundam games, and even a Zelda. And the list, it just keeps going and expanding. Dynasty Warriors is generally a well-loved series in Japan, but Western audiences tend to feel differently. In an interview with Push Square, when asked about the difference in the series reception between Japan and the West, series producer Akihiro Suzuki said, "The cultural background plays a role here, where the Asian players tend to love their characters and the plot as well as the gameplay, since they are more familiar with the historical side of the Dynasty Warriors games. For the Western audience, the historical side is more new to them, so they tend to hold game control or the game mechanics in higher regard, leading to them not seeing the plot and characters being as important when compared to the Asian side." Indeed, the West has been much more critical of the historical crowd brawler, with complaints such as, "The gameplay's repetitive. How many times do we need to see the Yellow Turban Rebellion?" And most commonly, "These games are all the same." This is in pretty stark contrast to the complaints that tend to come from Japanese gamers, which tend to focus on the game being inaccurate to the novel or the history, or the fact that some of the characters shoot magic lasers. The claim that the games are all the same is a particularly bold one, and in my opinion, it's a claim that begs testing. And that's exactly what I plan to do with the series. In this series, I will play every mainline Dynasty Warriors game, and probably a lot of the side games, to see what is different about each of them. My purpose in making the series isn't necessarily to show that one side is right and the other is wrong. I want to foster a greater understanding for what this series truly is, so that even if you still walk away disliking the series, you can at least have a more solid idea of what it is you dislike, and vice versa for fans of the series. Personally, Dynasty Warriors is a series that I'm very fond of. At this point in time, I don't have all the answers to what each game has in store, but I hope you'll join me as I find out. So come along as we become Dynasty Explorers.